From the Ash Rises a Phoenix, Chapter 5, written by Kangarooney. They woke at the hoot of an owl. Outside, the land was still and blanketed with darkness. Following Armin's request, Mikasa scoured the night sky. Though it was dark, both boys could see her relief when she recognized the home star. With the direction in mind, they gathered their horses, saddled, and rode out. Titans slept at night. This Eren knew well from his training. Even so, it was different knowing they slept at night, and putting that fact to the test. Riding into the night, with no torches or knowledge of the path ahead, it felt foolish. It was foolish. Eren wasn't the only nervous one. At the sound of wing beats overhead, Mikasa yelped. Her horse stepped sideways into Eren's, then his snorted and kicked out. "Whoa!" he yelped out. He pulled on the reins, reminding the horse who was in control. "Easy there." "I'm sorry," Mikasa apologized. Her own mount calmed again. It's hard not knowing what's out there," she continued, whispering. "It's okay, Mika." Eren forgave her instantly. "I can handle a skittish mount. It was one of our common classes. If you lose your horse, then you lose your life." Speaking of, he glanced between the formless shapes of his friends. "When did you learn to ride?" "I didn't," Mikasa again. "I've watched the soldiers, but watching is much different than doing. This horse likes to follow, and that's okay with me." Eren felt his heart rate pick up. If they were approached by Titans, these horses wouldn't know what to do. The horses used by the Cadet Corps were being trained as mounts for the Survey Corps. The horses owned by merchants weren't trained to run alongside Titans, or return to their riders at the call of a whistle. In the Corps, once they were taught the basic care for their mounts, each cadet was assigned a horse, and together they worked through all their training. Once they graduated, they'd only be guaranteed that mount if they joined the Survey Corps. It was an attempt by the Corps to increase their recruits. Though Eren knew he would never graduate, he'd grown fond of his mount. Now it would carry some other unfortunate corpsman into battle. Training young colts and fillies was easy, their minds bright, young, unbothered by past training. Training older horses? Eren pet his mount's neck. Atop the rest of the many challenges they were sure to face, would it be worth trying to train them? He didn't have any of the treats or tools he'd learned to use. "I should have checked their temperaments," he replied. "At our next stop, I'll feel them out and figure which is mildest and which is most easily spooked." Then he would ride the wildest and give the others to his friends. "Thank you," Armin joined in with gratitude thick in his voice. The group trod on. The star stayed low in the sky, trailing the horizon, leading them forward. The horses kept their heads low, watching the ground, avoiding rocks they could see. Every now and then, a hoof would catch and the horse would stumble. Aside from this, the night passed slowly. Only an occasional hoot of an owl or the chirp of an insect to disrupt the silent night. "It's getting lighter," Mikasa interrupted their trances. Indeed, the star, once bright and obvious, grew dim above the horizon. The sky was no longer black, but turning gray. "We need to find a tree, shelter, something." Armin straightened in his saddle and began to sweep the terrain. "There," Mikasa pointed to their right, where a copse of pines could be seen. "It'll do." Armin turned his mount and the others followed. "We'll need to unsaddle the horses, maybe tie them up away from wherever we go, and... Oh, Sina!" He bit his sentence, startled. Just outside of the trees, a Titan sat, slumped on the ground. "It's too dark still, right, Eren?" Mikasa shifted, anxious. Below her, the horse sensed her nervousness. It began to shiver. "Right." He nodded, slow. "We should be able to go past it. The sooner the better." Still, his heart beat faster, picking up in light of his enemy. "Then let's go?" Armin checked them, his head moving. Eren could see the beginning of features on his friend. The sun was rising. With it, so would the Titans rise. Right, okay. Aaron tapped his horse's sides and began to lead. He'd faced Titans the day before last, yet this felt more scary than that had. Maybe it was the knowledge that he had no companions to help him, or it was the broken ODM gear he wore around his hips. He'd never wanted to ride this close to a Titan, despite his knowledge they weren't the ultimate enemy. They kept their distance from the beast, hearts in their throats. Each one held their breath, urging their horses on, but holding them back to avoid noise. With their attention on the one Titan, it was only a matter of time before a horse had enough. Mikasa's mount, skittish and tired, whinnied loudly, and let a kick fly to its left, annoyed with the pack horse's closeness. The other planted its feet, pulled the lead from Mikasa's hand, and whirled away from the group. Shocked, the trio followed its path until their eyes landed once more on the Titan, the moving Titan. Shit! Aaron turned his horse away, and they kicked it to a trot. Come on, Mikasa, I have your reins. Hold on to the horse. Mikasa yelped when her horse began to bounce, the trot uncomfortable and jarring. Okay. Armin followed alongside, looking ahead. We need a tree that's taller than the Titan. His horse joined at a trot, then decided to switch to a canter, and he yelped, grabbing its mane tightly. Aaron! Aaron nudged his own into a canter to catch up to his friend. Mikasa's joined, along with their remaining pack horses. Pull back on the reins, Armin. If the horse goes runaway, you're screwed. That's not helping, Armin shouted back, holding tighter to the mane. Aaron looked forward, where Armin headed. Walls above. Armin, you need to stop your horse. There's a possible tree ahead, and you're going to pass it. Just pull on the reins. Aaron couldn't keep track of his mount, Mikasa's and Armin's. Pull on the reins, Armin! Armin's mount ran past the tree, Armin desperately holding on. No! Armin! He growled and pulled his own horse to a stop at the base. Aaron, what about Armin? You can't leave him out there, Mikasa yelled, eyes wild. Damn it, he could see the color of her eyes. The sun was rising too quickly. Mikasa, I need you to climb the damn tree. Get up there and get safe. I'm going to get Armin. Wait. She reached away from the horse, trying to grab Aaron. No, don't leave me. I'll come with you. Mikasa. He jumped from his horse and hauled her off her own. You need to go where I know you're safe. We'll be back. But I can't keep you both safe at the same time. Go up into the tree. He pushed her to the tree trunk. But, her lip quivered. Go, Mikasa. She bit her lip and turned away. She fumbled with the ODM controls, managed to hook the tree, and began to rise. He watched as long until she reached the bottom limb. Aaron looked at the pack of milling horses. Fuck. Stina, Rosa, Maria, he swore. Armin, where are you? Armin, it turned out, had managed to calm his mount down, and, in light of anything else to do, had climbed his own tree as soon as he was able. Stina bless his quick thinking. Armin, he called up from the ground. Do you think you'll be able to make your way to Mikasa through the trees? Armin, hugging a tree limb and white with fear, trembled. I'm not so sure, Aaron. It's daylight now. Without a city of people to tempt them, we're the best option. Aaron wouldn't be able to travel through the trees, not with his gear broken. He'd promised Mikasa he would return, but he couldn't leave Armin up there alone either. Mikasa is waiting for us, Armin. We need to get back to her. He tried convincing his other friend. If you're frightened of the gear, come to the ground and we'll ride together. If I go to the ground, then I'll be caught immediately. Would you rather I left you in the tree and returned to Mikasa on my own? Aaron snapped, tired and stressed. She'll see me return and believe you dead, that I failed to find you, that I failed you. Aaron, I'm scared. Tears. Armin was crying, and Aaron didn't know how he could help his brother. Armin, I'm scared too, but we need to be together. I can't leave you here, just as I can't leave her behind. We need to be together. Armin shuddered, his arms loosened from the tree. Aaron, I don't want to be devoured. You won't be. Aaron wished he could swear it, but they both knew that was impossible. Aaron glanced at what little of the sky he could see through the leaves. The gray was turning pink, color lighting the world. Armin, he coaxed, urgent. I'll travel through the trees. Armin rose to his feet and rubbed his hands on his pants. Wait. He gestured and looked at Aaron. How are you going to climb the tree? Your gear is broken. Don't worry about me, Armin. Aaron raised his hands and 2 thumbs up. I know what I'm doing. I can climb a tree just fine. Now go. He loved his friend, but Armin needed to stop wasting time. Armin turned back the way he'd come and fired up his gear. I'm not very good with this, Aaron could faintly hear the boy say to himself, followed by the telltale whisper of air. Armin was off. Finally, Aaron also turned the way he came and nudged his mount. Once we're safe and out of here, I'll give you all the treats, he promised, urging it to a canter. We'll become good friends. I'll give you a name. He watched Armin's progress, calling out directions when the boy hesitated. There. Just straight ahead, Armin. Mikasa's in the highest section. He could see her hair, black against the bright green leaves. Armin, Mikasa yelled, relieved to see him. She changed her focus when Aaron rode closer. There's a titan below my tree, Aaron. Got it. He pulled his reins hard, the horse whinnying in annoyance. Sorry, pal, you need to stay down here. He jumped from its back and hobbled its legs. He pulled the bit out of its mouth, shoving the gear into the bag. Shadis would have a conniption if he saw Aaron treating his gear like that. Shadis could suck it. Aaron jogged away from the horse and looked at the closest tree, following its branches where they intertwined with the next, and then the next. He could do this, just one branch at a time. Backing away, he paused, then jogged towards the bark, leaping to grab the lowest branch. Aaron hauled himself off the ground and planted his boots into the trough of the limb, standing to grab the next. One branch at a time. Unlike when he was a child, he carried extra weight, the useless gear catching on stray twigs, tangling with leaves and needles alike. He'd throw a leg over a branch, only to pause and spend time getting the hip holster over as well. Odium gear was insanely useful, if it worked. He paused, breathing heavily, and looked up and beyond. This was hard. Aaron stretched his arms and looked down. He was very far from the ground, but not quite high enough. A 10-meter would still be able to reach him if it so wanted, which it would should one come along. He grunted and continued to climb. If climbing up was all he had to do, Aaron would be happy. Instead, he needed to follow the branches twined with their neighbors and go the next tree over. Standing aloft, watching the branch sway with the light breeze, feeling his tree shake with the step of titans, Aaron swallowed heavily. I believe in you, Armin called to him, waving. You got me moving, Aaron. You're brave and strong. Aaron shuddered and rubbed his arms. There was a difference knowing the gear could catch you and knowing it could not. But Armin hadn't been comfortable using the gear, and he still managed to get a move on. Okay, off he went. Aaron walked along the branch, arms splayed for balance. Sway with the wind, Aaron. You are an extension of the tree. He wobbled, froze, felt his body stiffening and beginning to lose its balance. Forcefully, Aaron relaxed and dropped to a crouch. Below, the titan that had been staking out Mikasa's and Armin's tree wobbled back and forth. Aaron groaned in frustration. Just go. He opened his eyes and went. Hardly a minute later, he wrapped his arms around the neighboring tree's trunk and felt very similar to how Armin had looked. That was terrifying. Come up higher, Mikasa called down to him. Aaron breathed deep and then continued climbing higher, ignoring the tremble in his arms, ignoring the feel of stones in his stomach. I'm sorry for yelling at you, Armin, he gasped, falling to a seat beside his family. It's okay, Aaron. Armin shuffled to sit beside him. I needed the encouragement. Oh my walls! Aaron dropped his head in his hands. I hated that. Mikasa squeezed his shoulder. Thank you for coming back to me, both of you. Eren nodded, head still in hands. I'm sorry I let the horse run away. It had our supplies in it. I don't know which ones, and I'm sorry. It's not your fault, Mika. Armin's voice was warm, relieved. I'm glad we're all together instead. Nothing went how we wanted it to, Mikasa continued. Her voice was strained. Eren looked up from his hands. We should have found a tree first. And the other horses, Eren, you had them. Where are they? I hobbled them a short distance that way. He gestured to the direction he and Armin had come from. They shouldn't be able to run too far. Hobbling a horse meant he tied its two front legs together. It wouldn't be able to move faster than a very slow walk. They'd still be able to graze, but wouldn't be able to wander off. Eren, you need to fix your gear. Armin redirected the conversation, gesturing to the Titans below. Or you need to switch with one of us. You're the best trained. Losing you would mean we're essentially useless. Mikasa squeezed his shoulder once more, then released. As much as I hate to agree, he's right. You're our best defense. I suppose it's good the sun came out then. He shifted one of the hip holsters until it rested in his lap. I wish there was a flat surface to lay this on. He might need to disassemble the gear. The last thing he wanted to do was drop an important bolt into the waiting maw of a Titan. When Mikasa and Armin leaned in to watch, Eren explained the different parts of the gear. They'd need to know it better so they could clean and maintain it when he wasn't there. For a little over an hour, they focused on his attempts at repairs. The adrenaline ran its course, and they were tired. Slowly, Mikasa nodded off, slumping to lean against Armin, who, at her movement, began to panic that they might fall out of the tree as they slept. Fire your hooks, Eren instructed, showing how they could engage the hooks without having to retract them from the tree. They'll anchor you to the tree, then you won't fall. Armin woke Mikasa so she could secure herself, then he followed. Soon enough, only Eren remained awake, working on his gear and watching the Titan below as it watched him. If Eren never saw a Titan again, that would be too soon. Out in Titan territory, he'd see plenty. Its eyes never blinked, mouth open as it waited for him to fall into its gaping maw. For now, it was the only Titan to notice them, which Eren preferred. It was only a 7-meter and unable to do much damage. Plus, it was a normal Titan. He worried his lip, scouring the forest floor. What if an abnormal arrived? He needed to fix his gear. The tree shuddered. Eren, focused on his repairs and long since tired of watching the Titan watch him, jolted and barely caught the part he'd been fiddling with before it fell to the ground below. Below. His eyes widened at the growing number of Titans amassing below. Shit. How could Titans sneak up on them like that? He'd grown used to the watching Titan, occasionally pacing, its footsteps growing into the background. The same footsteps masked the approaching thumps of others, large and small. He loosened his grip on the part and placed it where it belonged. Would he have to fight them? If there were too many, they might knock the tree down. Armin, Mikasa, he hissed, urging his friends to wake. Stay calm. They peered over the edge, freezing at the sight. There are 6 Titans, Eren, Armin yelped, ducking behind the branch as if it would help. I know. He finished replacing the parts of his gear. I'm worried they might damage the tree. Following his statement, the tree shuddered again. The trio looked down the trunk to a... It's climbing the tree, Armin cried, voice breaking. I see that, Armin, Eren tried his gear. One of the anchors ejected, the other did nothing. Seen it, damn it. He retracted the working claw and paced on the branch. Okay, so one anchor worked. That was enough to ensure someone would stay secure in the tree. He could switch with one of his friends, then use their gear to kill the Titan. Then come back into their nest and stay here until night fell. He turned to his friends, explained the plan. Who wants to switch? I will, they both volunteered, then glowered at each other. Mikasa, you're the second best with the gear. You should have a working set in case Eren needs help, Armin stated his point first. Armin, you should keep the better gear. I can work with a half-working gear if I must. I'd rather you're safe. Both of you will be safe, Eren interrupted. I won't let them up here. I just need one working set. Neither will have to use it, I swear. He turned to Armin. Wheel switch. Mikasa glared at Eren, then folded her arms. You can't promise that, Eren. He gripped his hair. Just wait here. You'll both be okay. I'm not letting them get up here. Switching ODM gear in any situation was difficult. The gear was complicated, difficult to understand, and required years of training to be efficient in it. Eren could remove and put it on well enough. Trying to shift 2 sets between people while standing in a tree that was actively being climbed by a Titan. Suffice to say, he managed, but he never wanted to try it again. With the gear exchanged, Eren felt relief at the knowledge he was secure once more. This gear worked. He could use this. I'll be right back. He shot into the next tree over, the same he'd spent so much effort climbing a few hours before. From there, he could see the way the Titan climbed. It was a small Titan, maybe 5 meters, noticeably abnormal with how its arms bent at odd angles. Its toes were long, almost like hands themselves. It displayed little strength each time it hauled itself up. It paused for a few minutes, as if to catch its breath before moving up again. Its eyes were fixed on the branch he knew Armin and Mikasa were on. The beast knew its goal. Like it, he knew his own. With all its hands and feet dedicated to climbing, nothing stood between him and its nape. It hadn't seemed to realize he was available either. Eren unsheathed his blade and launched at an anchor for the tree just beyond it. Don't think, just kill. He pulled the trigger and was pulled in the Titan's direction. It never saw him. When he landed in his targeted tree, he turned to watch its body fall to the forest floor, crashing into the 6 that remained. They turned to watch him, eyes dull without life, but bright with hunger. Eren looked for any more abnormals, then returned to the safety of before. I'll stay on watch. You 2 sleep again. No, Mikasa shook her head. You need to rest. You're our protection now. If you stay awake, you'll grow exhausted. We'll wake you if anything else happens. Eren exhaled. I don't think I can sleep, he confessed. Try, Mikasa ordered. Eren chafed his blades, then rubbed his arms. Okay, I'll try.